Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And I apologize for all those folks who, want to get the first 5 minutes of the show. And, but apparently we don't have the echo again. That's good. That's excellent. Thank you, John. 616-774-2424. That's the number to call if you'd like to get your question, comment, or concern on the air. Generally, we don't worry about the echoes, but sometimes we do. So what's going on in the last week? Well, it looks like kind of like same old, right? I mean, if you've talked to anybody, you may have heard people saying, "Oh my goodness, look at that, $4 gas, how cheap." Did you notice that? People are like celebrating $4 gasoline. Unbelievable that we're able to adapt, I guess. Is that the word? Adaptation. We're able to adapt to these things and kind of take them in stride. Looks like a lot more people are working. That's all good, isn't it? I mean, we're not back to where we used to be, but that's a step in the right direction. Seems like a step in the right direction, so that's good. So good things happening. There's some reports about how the money that's going to Ukraine isn't getting to the front lines, but I mean, it's not like you can take a suitcase of cash and put it on the front lines. I mean, you got to use it to pay people, build infrastructure, logistics, all the rest. So I'm not too worried about that just yet. But it's a kind of a strange world we're living in. Inflation's still peaking, and people around the world looks like they're going to be going hungry. But again, in America, looks like this summer has been a very good year for the farmer. So it looks like American crops are coming in. They had somebody from the administration recently said, "Hey, don't worry about it. At least other countries got famine, but we don't have famine. Yay for America! We don't have famine. Hooray!" Well, that's better than having famine, I guess. And as people who are trying to find infant formula, it gets a little nerve-wracking when that kind of food chain is interrupted. So it's a interesting time, isn't it? Interesting time to be alive. Interesting time to be looking around trying to figure things out. As you know, sometimes we look at the big picture because why not? That provides context for everything else. But one of the things I think I just read an article on how everything's getting older. Everyone's getting older. Well, are you surprised by that? Everybody is getting older. That happens. But when you look at the big trends, the big trends, as a country, we're aging. The average age is going up simply because we didn't have as many kids as our parents, and our kids aren't having as many kids as we did. And that's what's, it's inevitable, isn't it? I mean, if we're slowing down the rate of family formation, that kind of thing, and people aren't having kids, well, then those kids are not around. There's this medical process I don't want to get into that has removed about 30 million people who would have presumably grown up, and they're just not here because they died early, real early. So is it any mystery that America's getting? It isn't. America's getting. Now, there's some good aspects of this. I mean, part of it is, when you were 62 or 65 or something, you were over the hill, you were out of there. And what we're seeing is an awful lot of folks are living a lot longer and healthier and still working. Go to McDonald's, go to any or Burger King or Wendy's or wherever it is you want to go. You'll see people. Remember when McDonald's was a teenage job? It was the first job you had. And now you see a lot of older folks who are doing that. Well, you got to be on your feet. You got to be doing the work and all the rest. And it didn't used to be that folks were healthy enough to do that when they got older. And now they are. And it's not. And I just mention that as the most obvious example. But the people in charge of large corporations are exactly the same way. The ages of chief executive officers and presidents of companies and stuff getting older. Look at our politicians, at least in one party, The aging of the leaders, I guess, is pretty undeniable, right? They're supposedly the party of it's like the Pepsi generation. There's a party that identifies with youth, and the party that identifies with youth is actually led by people who are much older than average, even than the other people in the other party. So, I mean, where does it all shake out? Well, the good news is that just because you're getting older doesn't mean you're being put out to pasture. The whole ageism thing. You remember that? Age discrimination and all the rest. I'm not saying it isn't real. I'm not saying it's not out there. But the fact of the matter is that some of the bigger trends seem to indicate that we're getting over that part of it. And now you have people complaining that baby boomers are working too hard. You know what I mean? You're working too hard, working too young, and you're blocking the upward mobility of the young. That's the new complaint. So, obviously someone is always going to find something to complain about, but it seems to me that that's a pretty positive development. Given my age, that's where my personal interest. I mean, I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. Why would you? If you can, now there will be people who say, yeah, you should, because you can't do the job. Oh, that would be, that's killing me. But if you can do it, well, why shouldn't you? And we see an awful lot of our folks are doing just that. A lot of the folks that we work with are doing just that. Now, it seems to me also that as people live longer, more productive lives, call it more productive. I mean, it's not the only measure, obviously, of a successful life is economic contribution, but it is part. I mean, that's part of it. It's not negative. It's not to be overlooked. The fact that people are living longer, contributing more, all the rest of this stuff, it's like, so it just gets me back to where I come from, which is, so why should that contribution end when you need long-term care? I mean, because long-term care is part of the deal. We'll talk about that more in the next segment, but long-term care is definitely part of the deal. You have to be aware of it. You have to figure out how you're going to pay for it or how it's going to be paid for. And if what you've done is be more contributing, right, it just seems to me all the worse that if you choose to remove yourself from the workforce or whatever, the paid workforce, put it that way, it just seems to me all the worse that what you've built up should disappear as quickly as it does routinely. A couple of weeks ago in the Michigan Elder Law Reporter, that thing we put in the newspaper every week, we gave you the charts that show that, people are really pretty healthy up until mid-80s or so. People are, because the amazing things that the pharmaceutical industry is doing, that the healthcare industry is doing, they really are doing some amazing things, and people are living healthier longer. In fact, some of the people who most criticize the pharmaceutical industry for, you've got, obscene profits. Well, how do you think they do the research? And some of the people are really old who are complaining about it. It's like, well, you wouldn't have the 4 dozen drugs that you're taking if these people hadn't done that. So, one of those gratitude issues, I guess, or trying to look at the big picture. So, how do we deal with that? And the fact of the matter is, we are getting older, and that means people are living longer, and that means people are living longer at reduced capacity. That happens also. It doesn't seem to happen. It doesn't happen at age 65 or into the 70s. You see a real spike, and this was the chart that we published in the paper a couple of weeks ago. You see a real spike, late 70s, early 80s. That's where, that's really where it starts happening. So you've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Give us a call, why don't you? 616-774-2424. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. You found the place where we talk about estate planning, elder law, real estate, and business law. So give us a call, why don't you, if you have a question about trusts. Lots of folks, beneficiary of a trust or a will what's the best thing, wills or trusts. And hey, it's not a one size fits all world out there, and it's the same with all of this stuff. Not a one size fits all kind of deal. I will tell you that what motivates me, gets me up in the morning, is when you look around and you see that people are working longer and making more of a contribution and doing better and all that kind of stuff. And part of it, of course, is they're needed. One of the tragedies of ageism, if you remember that one, ageism, where people were getting farmed out. Oh, you're 60 years old, you must be stupid, get out of here. That idea. One of the tragedies of that was that so much talent, so much experience, all the rest was just, well, you don't see that anymore. I mean, not to the extent that you did. I mean, it's still there, of course. Look, every bad thing, once it shows up, it sticks around. I mean, that's the way it works. Except for smallpox, I guess, or polio. Well, no, I mean, now we've got polio in New York City, so polio's making a comeback. Go figure. But at least they got rid of smallpox. I mean, we can still celebrate that for the time being, anyway. But my point is that, is there ageism? Yeah, there's ageism. Yeah. There is. But less than there used to be, because the need is so great. The need for somebody who knows to show up on time, who understands the value of getting a job done, right? Who understands follow through, who can get, like, I'm just repeating myself, who can get the job done. I mean, how often do you find that? Well, you find it an awful lot in people like you, who've been working, who've demonstrated that they know what needs to happen and are pretty good at making it happen. It's not so easy to find that these days. With younger people, there you go, ageism in reverse. But that's just the reality of it. And so what you see are people working longer, people taking on their responsibility, maintaining the responsibility, all the rest of it. And that's why it especially grinds me that, okay, so we've done that, and now that you've worked, now that you've contributed, now that you've accumulated, right, what you've got, why should that all blow away in a matter of months or years, or just a few years, when you need the long-term care? And I don't apologize for harping on this, because it's what you see over and over and over again, is folks who worked and saved and did all the good things being impoverished by long-term care. Now, we say avoid nursing home poverty. I mean, it's a slogan, right? But it's worked for, 30 years. So it's a good one. But most folks aren't using nursing home anymore. Raise your hand if you want to go there. Well, it ain't happening. That's not where people are actually going, unless they have seriously profound needs. And you got to understand, it didn't, say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is when the baby boomers started aging out, right? When they started hitting the 65, 60, 65, 70, and that just keeps, 10,000 people a day hit those gateway ages. And as that has happened, the demands that are put on the long-term care system, to the extent you can call it a system, has increased. We've got Mary on line one. Hello, Mary. Welcome to the David Carrier Show.
Good morning, David.
Good morning.
Hey, I wanted to thank you. My husband and I are celebrating this year.
Oh.
It is now 5 years since we got our trust.
Oh, boy.
With you, and yeah, we hit that magic number, and I'll have to tell you, the peace of mind we have from being proactive and looking forward to not having to worry about that stuff has really made a change in how we're viewing our finances. So I wanted to thank you.
Oh, good. That's the idea, right? So if you've got it, if you know that you've taken away, it's your action that's done it. But once you remove sort of not only the biggest threat, I mean, because the casino's not a threat, right? Buying too many boats, that's not a threat. Going on vacation too often, that's not a threat, okay? It's the long-term care. That's the threat to your financial security.
The things that you can't control.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. Not voluntary. And yeah, and so now
Right.
you can. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, and it went fast, didn't it?
It really did. It really did. And
Yeah.
just the mentality. I see the relief in my husband whenever we talk finances now. It's always that we got that in our back pocket.
Well, that's great.
So
I'd love to hear that. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much for calling in.
you're welcome. You have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate that. Yeah, but seriously, if you think about it, what Mary's just saying. Once you make that, once you make the 60 months, 60 months, 5 years, once you've done that, and it goes quickly, it's over in a snap. You don't even, once you've got the plan in place, and then you're just not worried about it. We'll talk about it more when we get back. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and now's the time to give us a call, 616-774-2424. If you have a question, comment, or concern about wills, trusts, or probate, wondering how to beat the high cost of long-term care, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate, if you want to start a business, stop a business, keep that business humming like a top, well, now's the time to give us a call. 616-774-2424. You can always drop me an email. Love to get the emails. David@davidcarrierlaw.com. And let's see, how else? Or go to the website. Yeah, you could go to the website, davidcarrierlaw.com. All kinds of great stuff on the website. Some of it you got to get a password for. But that's easy to do. It's free anyway. Just sign up. Or you could listen to the radio show, because everything we say on the website we say here, and it's not like we have anything to hide. And in the interest of nothing to hide, full disclosure, we just had Mary called in. She's a client, and Mary and her husband have gotten past the 5-year. They've made it to the 5-year finish line. And you may be asking yourself, what the hell is that all about? 5-year finish line? What? Okay, so let's start with let's start back to basics, very basics. There are 3 things that older folks need as we age and age out of the job market. Okay, 3 things that folks need, and this is pretty much universal. People need income. They need health care in case something goes wrong right now and can be fixed, and you can fix it, right? And then people need long-term care. Those are the 3 things, almost universal, that folks need. And of course, nothing's 100%, I know that. But 60, 70, 80%, 80, 90, 100% of folks need these 3 things: income, immediate health care, and long-term care. So if we can't fix it and we're just kind of waiting it out, right, that's the long-term care. Just be honest about it. Now, what is the government taxpayer-supported? And whenever I say government with these things, remember, it's taxpayers. And who are the taxpayers? Well, you're the taxpayers. I know that there's some idiots running around out there who think you can just keep printing money and it has no consequence. Hey, $5 and $6 gasoline, the inflation that we're going through right now, that's what happens when you print a bunch of dollars that don't mean anything. Okay? That's what's going on there. So don't tell me that this stuff is free. It isn't free. People pay for it, and the ones who pay for it are the taxpayers. And if you want to know who the taxpayers are, just look in the mirror. Okay? It ain't Warren Buffett. It isn't Jeff Bezos. It isn't the mega wealthy. They hire lots of lawyers. Guess what? They hire lawyers to work the tax code so that they're not paying taxes. I mean, do you remember, I think it was last summer, wasn't it, that somebody leaked the tax returns of all these multi-gazillionaires, and they're not paying any tax, or very little. So it ain't the rich folks paying taxes. And, income tax, yeah, on salaries, yeah. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the poor slobs, who work for a living and put together a factory or a shop or something like that. I'm talking about people who work for a paycheck. I'm talking about people, the super mega wealthy, which of course there aren't any, right? Yeah, believe that. And then there are people who with very little. And we actually give those people money. When they file their taxes, they don't pay in, they get money back. The earned income tax credit, for example. Okay? So you got people on the upside, way up there, they aren't paying taxes. People on the way downside, they're not paying taxes. There's an awful lot of them. And then we got the few in the middle who, kind of like, Custer's Last Stand. They're surrounding you, taking your stuff. And it's the middle class taxpayer who's paying for all of it. It's wonderful when they beat on their chest and send billions of dollars for foreign wars so somebody else can fight the Russians instead of us. That's probably a good investment, seems like to me. And when they give away billions with a B of up-to-date, refurbished military equipment to the bad guys, well, you're paying for that too. So whether it's the good stuff or the bad stuff, you're still paying for it. And so when I say government, I mean taxpayers. I mean you. Simple as that. So anyway, the taxpayers are paying for this income program. It's called Social Security, right? Now you paid in, right? And of course they spent that money. The money that you paid in, they spent. All right. Are you surprised by that? Is that a shocking surprise? Give government officials money, give politicians money, they're going to spend it. And the money that you entrusted them with, they didn't invest it. Nobody thinks that. They spent it pretty quickly. And so now it's taxpayer dollars that are supporting Social Security. As simple as, it's pretty easy to figure that one out. Same way with Medicare. That's the immediate. You need a bypass, you need a hip, you need a knee replacement, whatever. Okay, Medicare is the way we take care of that. Imagine there was no Medicare. Imagine that when you stopped working, there was the end of your health insurance, which was true in the 60s. And in the 60s, it wasn't that long ago, 60 years ago, right? And that's when they finally started figuring out how to keep people healthier longer. Until that point, you retire and here's a rocking chair and, we'll be having your funeral in a few years. Well, it ain't that way anymore. Over the last 20 years, especially, there's been a huge increase. Now, it's kind of flattened out over the last 10 years, life expectancy, but, we've had a pretty good run of people being healthier longer. That's the fact of it. And we've managed to hang on to those gains. There are younger people dying. There's a whole bunch of factors, but let's just accept basic principle. People are living longer and living healthier. And Medicare, your tax dollars at work again, is a big reason for that. Okay? So when you need income, they don't say to you, Social Security Administration doesn't come to say you and say, hey, you got a 401k. We're not paying you no Social Security for you. You don't need it. You don't need it. You got live off your 401k. Come back and see us when you're broke. They don't say that. Can you imagine if they did after you've paid in? Well, same way with Medicare. You need, my dad had a quadruple bypass. I don't know, like 20 years before he died. At least 15. No, close to 20. I would bet you it was 20 years. Now, what if he didn't have it? Well, he wouldn't have had the last 20 years. And he was a contributing member of society, and he did good things, right? And plus, we liked the old guy, having him around. Okay, for another 20 years, that was a good thing. Now, what if they'd said, oh, I'm sorry, no bypass for you until you're down to $2,000. Well, let's make it $1,900, okay? If you've got less than $2,000, then you can have a bypass. But if you don't, if you actually save some money, then we ain't footing the bill for that one, okay? What if Medicare worked that way? What if every time, you went to the doctor, you had to fill out a financial form, to swear that you didn't have more than a couple $1,000 of everything. Add up everything of, you can have a house and a car. You can't paint the house or license the car. They actually took that position. I've got a case on appeal right now where that was the government's position. You can have a house, but you can't paint it. Are you kidding me? But anyway, are you with me on this? I mean, what if Medicare were like that? What if Social Security were like that? Oh, I'm sorry, no money for you unless you prove to us you've got no money. And you say, well, wait a second, I paid in. I say, yeah, and keep on paying. But, you don't need this. There's other people with greater need. Yeah, that's a greater need than you do. And so, besides, you got a cottage. I'm going to sell the cottage. You don't need the cottage. You need a bypass? You don't need the cottage. Raking up in 2 yards, that's bad for you. What if they did that? Well, that's exactly what they do when it comes to the third government program, Medicaid, that pays for long-term care. They say, whoa, wait a second. Wait, hold your horses here. We're not going to give you back any of your money to help with the long-term care. Yeah, we did with Social Security. Yeah, we did with Medicare. Okay, you can get some payback on your taxes. But no, when it comes to long-term care, no, you gotta be broke. How did that get to be fair? How did that get to be the right idea? But that is the idea. That's the way the system works. See? If you need income, which of course you do, well, there's Social Security. You say, well, I paid into Social Security. I deserve it. Of course you do deserve it. Of course you do. Yeah, nobody's arguing that. And you say, well, I pay for Medicare too. I say, yes, you do. Yep, that's right. That's right. Your tax dollars at work. So what's the difference when it comes to long-term care? Why is long-term care? Wait a second. You're not broke yet. Oh, we got to see you broke. Before we'll help out with that. Does that have anything to do with you being on the way out the door? Right? I mean, the government says, longtermcare.gov says that on average, you'll need 3 years of long-term care, skilled care, at home, all kinds of different ways to provide for that, right? But that's the average, 3 years. You have a 70% chance of needing 3 years of care. And for 20% of folks, it's 5 years or more. Okay, that's reality. You can, my kids will take care of me. You didn't have that many kids, okay? And your grandkids certainly aren't gonna. You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. What's the answer? Stick around. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Let's wrap this up, okay? Number one, people getting older. America's getting older. The way we used to take care of long-term care, out the window. The church lady who used to sit with mom for $5 an hour, okay, somebody's sitting with her, okay? And she didn't get replaced. And you didn't have 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids, 4 kids, right? And your kids didn't have that many kids, if they have any kids at all, right? So we got a situation here where the family support system that used to provide for long-term care isn't there anymore. And most importantly, seems like to me, we have had a revolution in healthcare so that it's not like when you're, old and gray, you're out of the game. It's not that way anymore. Look around you. Some people hang on too long. You might look at the Chief Magistrate of the United States of America and conclude that, or even the Speaker of the House, dare I say, and you might think, well, some people are hanging on a little bit too long. I mean, they've kind of reached their expiration date. They should recognize that. That milk is beginning to smell a little bit. My wife, as soon as she sees an expiration date, boom, that stuff is in the garbage. I'm like, I don't think it works that way. The expiration date, boom, in the garbage. There it goes. Okay, so I don't buy that. I'm not with that, especially with people, obviously. But, people are effective longer. They're doing good things long. But, sometimes it goes a little bit too long. Anyway, point being, that's not the case. For most of us, we get the idea, but you've got another good 10, 15 years in you once you hit 65. All right, you're not ready to be put out to pasture unless you want to be, which, okay. We got that Social Security, that taxpayer income-supported program. Taxpayer-supported income program. There you go. Plus, when you make it to 65, now we got Medicare, that health care program. Good. Now you've got income, now you get immediate health care. But where you're going to go broke, where Americans go broke, is in that last phase where some of those aforementioned politicians probably should be, is in long-term care. Well, jeepers. Now you got to go broke for that. Who pays for it? You pay for it. You have paid for it. Every time you paid, you got a paycheck, and they withheld the money. Some of that money went to the long-term care, went to Medicaid. All right, that's just reality. It didn't come from somewhere else. It didn't fall off a tree. They didn't find it in the cabbage patch. That's not where they found the cabbage to pay for Medicaid. It wasn't in the Cabbage Patch. You paid for it, like you paid for every other God blessed thing that the government does. Simple as that. And if you didn't pay for it, then people like you, dare I say your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, are going to pay the interest on it, right? They'll never pay it off, you know that. But that's that's how this thing works, right? And then there are people who say, oh, well, you shouldn't get a benefit from that. Oh, you should be happy to support the millionaires, billionaires, and the folks who don't have two nickels to rub together. You should be happy and proud to bust your hump so that they get stuff for free. And you can't have it until you're broke. I'm like, what? How does that even begin to make any sense at all? I don't get it. It astounds and puzzles me. And the only explanation I can think of for the way that the system works is this. When you're 62 years old, and which is the earliest age you can start getting your Social Security, right? And actuarially, they don't care whether you take it at 62 or 72, whatever. It's the same dollars out the door. They figure all that stuff out, and they adjust the payments. So you're not getting any windfall if you wait, and you're not cheating yourself. If you do early, you're going to get the same value out of Social Security whenever it is you retire. But the point is that when you retired at 62, right? When you retired at 62, you've got a good 15, 20 years of voting left in you, okay? When you're 65 and you get the Medicare, again, you've got another 10, 15 years, good years of going to the polls. I suspect, and call me cynical, call me perceptive, call me whatever. I suspect that has quite a bit to do with the fact that they don't make you go broke to get your heart bypass. They don't look at your bank book before they'll replace your knee, okay? Because you're voting. They're not going to do that. But remember, government says 3 years of long-term care on average, 70%, and 20% will need 5 years or more, okay? So what they're saying is, when you finally need the long-term care, you got 3 to 5 years, right? If you didn't just you didn't die in your sleep already. But you got 3 to 5 years. So it's not 15, 20 years, 10, 15, 20 years of voting, right? You're in long-term care. And you're probably still voting. You can probably vote when you're in the grave in some jurisdictions. Okay, yeah, I get that happens, but you're not in control of it anymore, and they don't care about you anymore. Are you with me on this? See? So when it comes to income, you're still voting. When it comes to health care, you're still voting. When it comes to long-term care, right, you're on your way out the door. And they're not worried about you. They will strip you naked and kick you in the keister on the way out the door because there's no political repercussion to it. Now, did I read that somewhere? No, I kind of made that up. I just kind of looking at, just look at the situation. What is going on here? That's what's going on. What's the difference? What's the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? The middle-class Medicaid that pays for long-term care. What is the difference? It's tax dollars. It's all tax dollars anyway. That's what it is. You paid in. But on this side, okay, that's fine. We're not gonna impoverish you. But when it comes to long-term care, we're impoverishing you, all right. You betcha. Come back and see me when you got $2,000 and a house you can't afford. Oh, you can keep the house, but you can't paint it, and you can't pay the taxes on it, and you can't pay the insurance on it, and you can't maintain it. And if you, God forbid, rent it out, we're going to take that money too. Oh, we'll let you pay the taxes now out of the rent. Thank you very much. That's the deal. That's what's going on. If you didn't know. Now, there's an answer for this, and we'll get to that in the next hour, because I'm going on too long. Excuse me, I'm going on too long, and I'll tell you what the answer is when we get back. But you got to see what the problem is. The problem is that people have needs, all right? And in America, where we vote on this kind of stuff, and voting's important, right? They figured out who votes and who doesn't. Well, when you're in long-term care, right, number one, I don't have to worry about you for that long anyway, right? 3 to 5 years at the most is all I'm worried about. Plus, if you're in long-term care, you're probably voting absentee, and maybe somebody's voting for you, but I'm not worried. You're not the active voter that I'm worried about at age 62 for Social Security, earliest age, or 65 for Medicare. And again, I didn't, there's no crystal ball that, or I didn't eavesdrop on anybody. But if you look at the big picture, just back off and look at what's going on. What is the difference between getting your knee replaced and long-term care? One, you're going to keep on voting. The other one, you're not. That's the difference. Okay, why the consequence? Because they can get away with it. That's why. Are you going to let them get away with it? Not me. You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Hello and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And now's the time to give us a call, if you will, 616-774-2424. That's area code 616-774-2424. That'll get you right to the studio. If you'd like to drop me an email, love to get the emails, even the ones who said I'm a chuckle-headed idiot. Especially love those. Well, that's what I hear all day anyway. You can drop me an email, david@davidcarrierlaw.com. And go to the website, davidcarrierlaw.com, and call me a dog-faced pony soldier if you want to. I'm not offended. And on the website, there's all kinds of great stuff. And find out about the workshops. We're starting to get workshops on the rebound. We love that. Come to a workshop and find out what this stuff is all about. Now, for the last couple segments in the last show, we're kind of laying out the situation. Here's the situation as I see it, and I promise I'll get right to the good stuff. First of all, older folks need three things. When you're approaching retirement, you need to maintain income. The taxpayer-supported program that maintains income is, you're right, Social Security. That's what it is. You pay in, you get out. Now, they already spent all the money that you paid in. You understand that, right? I mean, like within 30 seconds after they withheld it from your paycheck, they spent it, and now it's ongoing taxpayer dollars that fund Social Security. That's just the way it is. Same way with Medicare. Again, taxpayer dollars at work. It was supposed to be an insurance program. It is. It maintains some aspects of that, but it's really taxpayer dollars at work. That's what Medicare is all about. There's a third thing that people need. So you need income, you need hospitalization. If there's something goes wrong, that can be fixed, can be rehabbed. That's Medicare. There's a third thing that folks need, and that is during the last 3 to 5 years of life, an awful lot of folks are going to need long-term care, like everybody, pretty much. 70% shot that you'll need, average of 3 years of long-term care, 5 years for 20% of us. So that's go to the website. I've published the website information in the Elder Law Reporter in the newspaper, your newspaper, whether it's the Gazette or the Press or whatever. It's right there. I try to be very transparent about this stuff. This is not making up stuff. This is, well, it's what the government says. I don't know. It tends to be supported by, you open your eyes, you look around. Yeah, this is what's going on. It's not craziness. And it is it's what the government says. So I don't know if it's wrong. I didn't take the surveys. I just report on them. Anyway, you don't have to go broke to get Social Security. You don't have to go broke to get Medicare. Right? They don't want a financial statement every time you go in for a bottle of pills or a knee replacement or your hip is out of whack, and they don't say, well, before we fix that, we need to make sure you have less than $2,000 in the bank. They don't do that. What kind of nonsense? But they do that when it comes to the long-term care. What is so different? My sense is that when you're qualifying for Social Security or for Medicare, you got another 10, 15, 20 years of voting. They're afraid of you, which is exactly the position the government should be in with regard to the voters, right? You should not be afraid of the government. The government should be afraid of you. And I think Social Security and Medicare, right? This is your health care thing, reflect that. Well, what happens when you can't vote anymore, when you need long-term care? Well, now they're not worried about you anymore, and now they're more than happy to strip you naked. kick you in the ass, and there you go. I think that's what's going on with Medicaid. Now, if you're super wealthy, you're not paying income tax anyway, so what do you care? If you're not, if you don't have two nickels to rub together for whatever reason of combination of life circumstances and personal choices, you don't have savings and what have you, right? Okay, all right, we're not looking down our nose or anything like that. For you, it's free. I get it. It's free. But here's the thing. Well, it's free. To you, it's free. Middle class has been paying for it. It's going to keep on paying for it. That's just the way it is. So here's the thing. Why can't the middle class individual, husband, wife, mother, father, right, sister, brother, the person who's been paying for it the whole time, why can't they get that guy's deal? Right? Why is it free for some people, but other people, oh, no. Oh, sorry, you got $2,001 in the bank. You don't qualify. All right. Oh, you tried to take care of your grandkids. You don't qualify. Oh, you helped out with the college tuition for your kids or grandkids. Oh, you don't qualify. No, nothing for you. Go broke first. And if you didn't spend the money the way we think you should have spent the money, all right, we're still not paying for you. That's what's going on. Now, why should that be what's going on? I don't think it should be. Now, here's how Medicaid, partially, here's how it works. If you give stuff away, so you did support your grandkids in the elementary Christian school, parochial school, whatever, okay, you did that. Well, that was 10 years ago, right? They don't care. After 5 years, after you give stuff away, they don't care anymore. Now, they care for 5 years, but after 5 years, 60 months later, they don't care anymore. Are you with me on this? This is really important. By they, I mean the folks who run the Medicaid system. They don't care. So if you gave away money, right, if you supported your grandkids, if you helped out one of your kids who was going through a rough patch and you paid the mortgage for a few months, okay, if that was within 5 years of you needing the long-term care, you will be penalized for that. All right? They won't pay because you gave money away. You gave money away, we ain't going to pay. That's how it works. Okay? The more you give away, the longer they don't pay. Okay? That is how the system works. So you give stuff away. If you apply for assistance, long-term care, within the next 5 years after you gave the stuff away, they won't pay. And they don't care why you gave it away, right? It could be for tuition. It could be for paint the house. It could be for whatever. And now, like I say, I've got a case. I got this very case. It's up on appeal right now, where the person, they didn't give the money away. They painted their own house. Are you with me on this? They say, oh, you can have a house. Everyone's like, oh, the house is protected. You can have a house and a car. That's protected. How many times have I heard that, right? And there's an element of truth to that. There is an element of truth to that. Well, now they're saying, yeah, you can have the house, but you can't paint it. What? You can't paint it? No. We're going to penalize you for painting your house. Oh, and you put a tag. You know that little sticker you get every year, right? A little sticker goes on your license plate. Yeah, you can have a car, but you can't register it. You can't have a valid plate because if you buy that sticker, we're going to penalize you for that too. Isn't it it's just breathtaking, the idiocy of the thing. But that's what it is. That's what you're dealing with. And you say, well, I'll just pay myself. That's why I saved. Oh, really? Oh, really? It used to be 6,000. Well, when I first got started, it was around 3,000 was what it cost per month in a long-term care facility, in a skilled nursing facility, right? Nowadays, the government admits the government number is $9,900 a month, okay? And the government number is always low because it doesn't include the toothpaste and the mouthwash and all the extras that they throw on top, okay? So you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000 a month, all right, for the skilled nursing care. And, it starts now at $6,000, which is about 3 times what it used to be. Starts about $6,000 for assisted living. I'm not saying you can't find places that are less expensive. I'm just saying, when you look at the big picture, what are people paying for skilled nursing? $12,000 to $15,000 a month. What are you paying for assisted living? Around $6,000 or so. And if you're in a memory care unit, the price goes up. There's all kinds of adjustments in there. But this is how middle class folks go broke, right? Because you pay for that for 3 years, which is the average. Pay for that for 5 years, which is 20% of folks. Are you with me on this? That's what the problem is. And remember what Medicaid says. Medicaid, which is the taxpayer-funded program, the you-funded program that pays for this, just like Social Security, just like Medicare, except for here, you got to be broke. Why? When we get back, I'll tell you exactly how to answer that problem. You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm still David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show, the show where the bumper music is Glenn Miller and his band, where the bumper music is almost always better than the show itself. Hard to admit, easy to observe. Well, that's the truth. Sometimes you got to face the facts, and that's a fact. Well, now let's recap. So we got 3 government programs that support older folks: income program, immediate acute care health care program, and long-term care program. All supported by taxpayer dollars, your taxpayer dollars, because the rich people ain't paying the taxes. The poor people don't have the wherewithal to pay the taxes, and so it falls onto you. I don't think there's much surprise here, right? I mean, can we acknowledge that? Now, when it comes to Social Security, when it comes to Medicare, there's no means test, right? They acknowledge you paid in, and you should get something back. But when it comes to long-term care, you're not going to be around to vote anymore. We know that when you need long-term care, you're on the way out the door, right? And so for you, we're going to take all your stuff. And you don't get to keep your stuff. You don't get to give it to your family. And by the way, if you did give some of it to your family, we're going to penalize you for that. But here's the deal. If it was more than 5 years ago, then we're not going to worry about it. That's the loophole, the catch, the whatever you want to call it. Okay? So what if you gave all your stuff away to your kids today? Let's give all the stuff to the kiddies. All right? You give it all to the kids, and then 5 years later, if you need long-term care, right? Now, listen, I understand how screwed up this is, right? But what if you did that? Was that a good idea? You want to give all your stuff to your kids? You love them, right? They love you. What could go wrong? Give all your stuff to your kids. There are actually attorneys out there recommending this. I've seen this happen, okay? Where that was the counsel. That was the advice, especially in other states. People are actually giving that advice, which is insane to me. But that's what they're doing, okay? Well, you want to say the cottage, the farm, the house, the whatever, give it away to the kids and then wait for 5 years. Well, okay, I guess that's one way of doing it. Do you really want to give away your life savings to your kids? Wouldn't you rather, come on now. But what if, and the way it works is, if you give it away, 5 years later, they don't care that you ever had it. That's the way it works. Not for Social Security, obviously. Not for Medicare, obviously. But it does work that way for the long-term care. It does. Okay. So what can we do about this? The answer is there is a trust that we can put together where if you put your stuff in the trust, you trigger that 5-year period. You trigger the 60 months. Okay? Now, it's not the usual trust that you're doing. It's got to be done. There's a lot of requirements to it. Let me just put it that way. Okay? It's a don't try this at home sort of situation. But it works. It works every time. Okay? You put the assets in trust. Who's the trustee? You're the trustee. Who gets the income? You get the income. Who can change the beneficiaries? You can change the beneficiaries. Okay? You retain, who changes the investments? You do. Who's in control of this thing? You are. You're in so much control, as a matter of fact, that the Internal Revenue Service, the tax guys, say, well, you haven't done anything. You were in control before, you're in control now. It's what they call a grantor trust or a disregarded entity, okay? But when you put assets in here, well, we're not talking tax law anymore, right? We're not talking probate or civil law anymore. Now we're talking, what does Medicaid require? What does Medicaid do about it? What is the long-term care program? Not Medicare, not Social Security, right? They don't screw you around like the long-term care does. Those programs don't. You just live in your life. You apply. You put the money in. You get the money out. It's fair, right? Not so with the long-term care. Different with the long-term care. And so what we're doing, and as I've been saying for, I don't know, as long as I've been on the radio, this is what we're doing in order to protect the assets for you, for your family. So we had a caller in the first half hour, I guess, first segment, whatever, and they just made their 5-year. We should do like Dave Ramsey does. You know how Dave Ramsey has we're debt free. You know what I mean? They do that. Maybe we should do that. Huh? What do you think? Have people come to jump up and down and say we're protected. Oh, whatever. Over 10,000 families. I think around 15,000 now, have used this program, have used this approach to protect assets from the long-term care and lawsuits too. I mean, there's a asset protection aspect of it as well. But for us, for regular folks, the key is really how do we protect from the long-term care? And this is not I wonder if this works. I mean, I hear this all the time from people telling me, oh, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. It's like, well, then how do I keep getting the applications approved? We submit every time you do a Medicaid application, we give them everything. We give them the trust, we give them the trust funding document, everything. And they send it out to the Bureau of Legal Affairs. They have a special unit that reviews trusts, and they come back time after time. We've never had one denied, because of that. We've never had one of our trusts turned down. It works. And then that feeling of, well, if you're looking at things right now, let's say you're retired, let's just say, what's the big threat to your financial security? Are you worried that your spouse is going to go on QVC too much? You're going to buy too many scrubber pads? I don't know, too many scrubber pads or something? Are they going to buy too many moo-moos on QVC? Are you afraid that the husband's going to go to Cabela's and buy, extra boats or something? I mean, really, you're going to go to the casino too often? I know what you do. You take $50, you go to the casino, you lose it, you go to the buffet. Hey, at least I got free sodas while I was losing my $50, right? It's an entertainment sort of thing for those who like that sort of entertainment thing. I get it. Okay, fine. But that's not a threat to your security. That's something fun that you do, and why not? Now, there are people out there gambling away their Social Security checks, which is a shame, total shame, but that's not you. That's not a threat to you. What is the threat? The threat is that your spouse gets dementia. That's the threat. It's $50 an hour, and go to Elders Helpers. Go on their website. $50 an hour if you want a nurse coming to home. You want someone with their, barely qualified, it's $30 an hour. Okay? I mean, look it up. I mean, this is not rocket science. I mean, you can find out what these things. It's devastating, and it's 12 to 15,000 is what we're thinking of nowadays for skilled nursing care. If you need skilled nursing care in a traditional nursing home, it's less, 6,000 to 8,000, 10,000, whatever it is, in assisted living, memory care. That's okay. So how many months can you pay the bill? Right? Or keep your spouse, loved one at home. How can you pay for that? See? That's what Medicaid's there for. And that's how you qualify for it without losing what you have. Give me a call, why don't you? 616-774-2424. 616-774-2424. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Give us a call. Well, it's a little bit late for giving us a call now because we only get a couple of minutes, but 616-774-2424. If you get a quickie, we'll get you in. We've been talking this week about kind of going back to the basics a little bit. We had a One of our folks called in. They'd made their 5-year plan. They'd made it through the period, and just well, it was very. We always love those. When people make it to 5 years, which of course they usually do. I got just to say, we used to. Folks used to keep. See, it's like Tom was saying. His cousin did the 2 trusts. We do a revocable trust, like everybody does, but then we do this other one that's the long-term care protection aspect of it. Now, we take it the next step. See, once we've got you protected, right? You say, well, I'm not really worried. I've got the VA. I've got long-term care insurance, which incidentally, you probably don't have long-term care insurance like you really need it. If you do have it. That's a whole nother thing, another show, I guess. But here's the thing. You really want to leave stuff to the kids. You want the leftovers to go to the kids. Once you've planned like this, once you know that there will be leftovers, and there are always leftovers for the kids, 100% of the time, there's always leftovers when you plan ahead like this. That's been my experience, at least, 100% of the time. You never go into the nursing home poverty where everything's just gone, which is frankly all too common. So here's the thing. When you're leaving stuff to the kids, one more idea. You took care of you and your spouse, right? And then you did this thing, what we call the life plan. You did the life plan, which is while you're alive, plan for while you're alive. You did the life plan thing, where we make sure you don't go broke in long-term care. Okay, good. So you did the work, which is the hard thing for 30, 40 years, right? Then we made sure that we handled it intelligently, smartly, all right? We didn't get duped into thinking that, no one goes to long-term care or somehow Medicare will take it. You didn't get fooled by that. You said, no, eyes open. I want some extra money if I need that program, okay? I want that program to operate the same way as Social Security does, the same way as Medicare does. I don't want any special treatment. I just want a little bit of payback for what I paid in. Now, if you're opposed, if you are against getting a payback on your taxes, if you say, no, I just pay in, I shouldn't get anything back, give it to somebody else. Well, okay, you don't need me. Go broke. That's on you. But the question is then, if we've done this intelligently, if we've done it smartly, and there are leftovers for the kids, why would I throw the money out the window at that point? Okay? Why wouldn't I make sure that the inheritance for the kids was getting to the kids in a way that they actually got it? Now, what am I talking about? Well, guess what? Sometimes kids get divorced. Sometimes they have bankruptcies. Sometimes they co-sign for your grandkids' student loans and wind up behind the 8 ball that way. With the changes in the car insurance, we're going to see more people getting sued over car accidents. Okay, so the world is a dangerous place, right? And your kids can get into trouble. So that if you saved money, right, and there's an inheritance for the kids, how do you make sure that the kids actually get it? Because if they're going through a rough patch, if they've got a divorce or a bankruptcy or a lawsuit, and I know. Look, inheritances are not supposed to count in divorce. Everybody knows that. That's what the law says. It doesn't count. Yeah, it does. Duh. Wake up and smell the coffee. If you've got an inheritance, a significant inheritance, and you're negotiating a divorce settlement, do you really think it doesn't play in? Of course it plays in. Okay? So, so I don't want any emails about, the law says that inheritances don't count in divorce. Yeah, I know. And the proceeds traceable to the inheritance. I know. But what you're going to do when you get that inheritance, you put it in the joint checking account, and he or she spends it, right? Or you treat it, you commingle it, so now you can't identify it. Okay, in the real world, that has really limited impact. What if we put it in a trust, right? What if when you passed, what you were leaving to your kids was not a pillowcase o' cash, but a trust that the kid could empty if they felt like it, right? But no one could take away from them. So we've got kids who are in prison, right? You give somebody money who's in prison, who gets it? Department of Corrections gets it. That's who gets it, okay, to pay their room and board. Or you're going through a bankruptcy. Who gets the money? The bankruptcy gets the money. It could have been a lifeline for your kids, but it isn't because, like everybody else, you made the kid the beneficiary on the IRA, whatever, okay, life insurance, what have you, and the estate planning that you did says give the kid the money. Boom. When I'm gone, pay the bills, give the kid the money. No way to hold it back. No way to say, oh, wait a second. The kid's going through a bankruptcy or a divorce or a lawsuit. Or blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it be better if we held on to this for the kid's benefit? But you don't get to do that because that wasn't the plan. What if it was? All right, see? So it's not enough for us. First of all, we got to save it for you. We got to make sure that what you earned serves you, serves your spouse throughout your lifetime. Yeah, that's number one. You can't put on, you're on an airplane, you can't put on the kid's oxygen mask if you're turning blue. You put your own on first. And then once we've done that, then we can worry about other people. But it's not like we're going to ignore them. We are going to take care of the other people after we've taken care of you first. Are you with me on this? So when we leave assets to kids, we don't just give them the pillowcase of cash. Here's the money, right? What if they get mugged? Well, there goes the inheritance. What if we gave them the key? This is how I think about it. The key to the safe deposit box. Money's in the safe deposit box. Yeah, you can get mugged. But guess what? They didn't get the money. You know what I mean? Do you go walking around with your life savings in your back pocket? Of course not. Of course not. Why would you do that to your kids? Why would you do, here, have a bunch of cash, kid, and now go walking around town. See what happens. Whoopsies. Do you see? So it's that follow through. It's that all the way through kind of care that you take. So now it works. For you, for your family. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.